So just transition is a difficult concept, probably has different interpretations in different parts of the world. But essentially, as we make these significant moves towards sustainable business practices, we need to ensure that nobody's left behind. So as certain jobs change or disappear and others are created, how are we going to equip individuals and communities to make that move also? There could be circumstances where moving towards removing fossil fuels, for example, could leave whole communities, industries behind unless they transition into the new energy delivery. So we have to make sure that policymakers and the profession are all part of creating that opportunity. There's no single actor in this that's going to provide all the solutions, no single government, no single business, but the accounting profession can play its part in ensuring that nobody is left behind.
The term just transition itself has sort of become common parlance now. So in Australia and New Zealand, where it's kind of in the papers every day in terms of what companies is publishing their just transition roadmap or their strategy in terms of how they're going to transition. And both Australia and New Zealand are big mining extractive countries, right? Their economy is built on that. And so the discussion really is looking at how, and it is exciting, and it's really good to see mining leaders take this and embrace it. We're seeing how, going from sort of, iron ore, basically digging out rocks, we now have, billionaires, owners of those businesses now talking about how they're going to do a just transition and looking at, for example, power generation and doing agreements and MOUs with other countries about wind generation, for example, which is a huge opportunity in Australia. Solar generation, of course, as well. So, in that context, there's a lot of discussion about it, and they're putting their plans forward and their strategies. In New Zealand, it's a little bit different. It's more kind of looking at offshore gas extraction, for example, and in particular, how they can make their agricultural industries more balanced going forward, and how they can bring in sustainability practices and have a net transition in due course. And then increasingly companies, of course, are publishing when they're planning to do that, and now more how they're planning to do that. And that's where accountants come in again, because in order to do that, in order to compare one company to another, in order to avoid greenwashing, for example, you need comparable, consistent, reliable data, and accountants can do that and help companies form their strategies from the ground up. So again, it's a great opportunity for the profession to be, leading, learning themselves, learn from some of the great work that ACCA and CANS have been doing in our thought leadership papers, where we're helping, whether it's big business or small business, in being able to do that, to work towards that just transition. I think probably my two things would be, first, the profession can provide clarity to business, and second, work with the standard setters here in order to make sure that the standards are practicable and achievable, and easy to understand. On the first, in terms of clarity, I sort of mentioned before, sort of helping organisations prepare their positions on these, their strategies in the first place, which takes a huge amount of work. I had one CEO of a very large property business say to me that his strategy for his business only took 3 months. Their sustainability strategy took 9 months to do. So this is not easy by any imagination, but definitely, he's a former CFO, so that's always good. But it does take time and it is complex. But that's where accountants, with their incredible measurable experience in financial reporting and being able to take very complex data, complex accounting standards and the like, and bring that into a simple, digestible financial report. That's where their skills are very, very translatable into sustainability reporting. And in some of my stakeholder engagements, some of our big, large employers are banks. And I sat down with one of our CEOs of a big multinational bank, and he mentioned to me, I asked him the question. Originally, I knew that their sustainability team was in their investor relations team. He has now, again, he was a former CFO, one of our members, now a CEO. He has moved the sustainability reporting team into the finance team, because he said, in terms of, particularly with compliance with the standards they realise that they're going to need the skills of their finance and data analytics teams in order to produce the reporting that investors and the community and government will expect from them.
Well, unsurprisingly, I'd reflect what Ainsley is saying on what's important to the profession, but to pick out two things. I think it has to start from the inside, so from inside business. And that point about strategy is key, isn't it? Because there needs to be a strategy for an organisation for change that integrates sustainability and the traditional performance metrics of an organisation, and then the professional accountant has to play that very significant role in bringing all that together, both to drive the strategy of the organisation, but then to monitor that performance, report on it and be accountable. The second thing I'd pick out would really be that every accountant can make a difference. As an individual accountant within a business or supporting a business, you can make a difference to that sustainability agenda. And that's really exciting. That's a big opportunity. It's a big opportunity for existing accountants, but we know for the generations coming next into the workforce, that's a really attractive proposition that you can make a real difference as an individual to how an organisation delivers sustainably.